Specialist Mathis about to enter the octagon.
One thing I noticed about Specialist Mathis is he is a very big 110. I would expect to see him in the 125 bracket. He's a really, really, really big 110.
He certainly does not look like he's only 110. The man looks like he's at least weighs about 130, 140 pounds.
Yeah. Whenever these fighters are cutting weight, it's a process to go. You usually lose about 10 to 15 pounds cutting water weight. So by the time you get back into the cage, depending on who you are, you can put on from anywhere to 10 to 20 pounds without a problem.
All right, guys, so Mathis is about to enter the octagon, getting himself checked. After him, we're going to be seeing Simon Pequeño make his way into the ring. And when you guys are getting ready for a fight, what's the training regimen like? What does the training really look like going into fights? How rigorous is it?
Every fighter has their different way of preparing for a fight. Guys that work at the Fort Hood Combatives Training Facility, everybody trains on the outside and everybody competes on the outside, whether it's in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or mixed martial arts, sometimes both. For myself and Ray Rodriguez, I can definitely say that it's not uncommon for us to spend, anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day training, starting anywhere from 8 to 6 weeks out.
My goodness, 4 to 6 hours training a day. That is a lot of training for these guys, but that's why they do. They love the sport. They love to do it. And now we're seeing Simon Pequeño make his way into the octagon. You mentioned just a moment ago, Specialist, that Pequeño, you've seen him in action before.
Yes.
What do you anticipate seeing, watching him fight again?
Definitely with Pequeño, I've seen a lot of top action off of him. He's really good at holding up position. I haven't seen too much of his stand-up, nor have I Mathis. But Pequeño, like I said, I've rode with him before. He's really strong, has really good dominant position. So I'm excited to see how it's going to come out.
3 rounds of bantamweight action is on the agenda. We're about to get ready to go here. Pequeño making his way into the ring. Both fighters in the ring, and we're just about to get set here live with our first fight from Fort Hood. And guys, before, I don't want to jump too far ahead in the schedule, of course, but tonight, for those watching who don't know, we have a female in action tonight going up against a male. Jacqueline Walker will be in action later on tonight. It's not often we see a female competing against a male, but that's the way it is.
Right, absolutely. That's another thing that separates us from MMA. Modern Army Combatives is a system designed for soldiers to prepare themselves to engage their enemy in close combat. It's very unrealistic for me to expect Staff Sergeant Walker to only ever have to fight a female in combat. I can't go to the Taliban and say, hey, do you have a female with little to no experience at 110 pounds that we can match against this American soldier? This is not a sport. This is training for war. Last year we had a female in the finals versus a male. We have one again this year. We had approximately 25 female soldiers competing in this tournament, and most of them competed against males and won.
Staff Sergeant Jacqueline Walker, we're going to see her after intermission takes place, so she'll be coming up a little later in the card, but it looks like we're about to get ready to go here with our first combative fight of the night. Once again, Specialist Mathis taking on Simon Pequeño. The referee checking with both fighters. It looks like we're about to get ready to go here, guys. I'm excited. Are you excited?
Very excited. Both of these guys look intense. Look at each other in the eyes right now. Looks like it's about to go on right here.
Referee checking with the judges' table. And it looks like we're ready to go here with our first fight. Mathis with the red shirt.
Mathis looks like he has a good stand-up base right now. They're going kind of wild right.
Oh my goodness!
He
Mathis
put him out with
right
the right
jaw.
uppercut.
The referee has to back
wow,
him away.
Beautiful,
My
beautiful,
goodness.
beautiful.
That was a beautiful uppercut. It was somewhat in the scramble, but the uppercut hit him right on the button, put him down.
Pequeño coming out swinging. Both fighters coming out swinging. Pequeño catching Mathis right on the button, as Ray just said. And this one, my goodness, Mathis is down and he's not getting up.
That was by far one of the fastest Army Combatives fights I've seen. But it can happen. These gloves aren't forgiven. 4-ounce gloves. If you hit someone right in the button, it'll go out easily.
Sergeant Cannon, I'm sure that's probably the quickest fight you've seen in a long time.
These things happen. The one punch knockout. It like Specialist Rodriguez said, those 4-ounce gloves are really not meant to protect the other person. It's really to just kind of protect the puncher's knuckles and to make sure that they don't fracture their hand. And it doesn't take much if you hit someone on that knockout button. It's good night.
Well, we certainly have started the fights off with a bang, and Simon Pequeno.
Great sportsmanship by Simon Pequeno. He went over to him right away, make sure he was okay. It's great sportsmanship. It's one thing I love about Army Combatives. Very good to have good sportsmanship and taking care of each other like we should as soldiers.
And as Ray just mentioned, yeah, like a great sportsmanship there, because after you guys step out of the octagon, really, you're all on the same team when you're outside of the octagon. So Simon Pequeno getting his hand raised in victory. That fight lasting about 10 seconds, and Pequeno gaining victory on the night. And what a way to start out these night of fights. And we've got more on the way. But what did you guys see? Pequeno looked like Mathis came out swinging really fast, and Pequeno just kind of sat back real quick and just caught one good punch.
Right. Sergeant Pequeno, his head coach for his brigade team is a guy named First Sergeant Edgar Fuentes. And First Sergeant Edgar Fuentes is also the boxing coach for all of the guys that work at the Fort Hood Combatives training facility. Very experienced boxer, and working with First Sergeant Fuentes, myself and Ray Rodriguez, we can both tell you that First Sergeant Fuentes is all about weather the storm, and look for the openings and look for those counter punches, and Pequeno did exactly that.
Beautiful
All
outing
right,
by
guys,
Pequeno.
and we're about to get ready to go here on the second bout of the night, where we can expect to see Larry Jackson in action tonight against Jorge Horta. And I wanted to, Brad, you touched on it just a moment ago when we were speaking about Jacqueline Walker. You said you can't expect her to fight against women all the time out in combat. The question really for both of you, what can these guys take away from in the ring and apply it to outside when you guys are in combat and have to experience such serious situations?
All the techniques that we teach in the Modern Army Combatives program, there's 4 levels. There's level 1, 2, there's the basic course, the tactical course, and then the basic and tactical instructors courses. Everything is meant to be done downrange, like I said. The cage, a lot of people see it and they get it confused with mixed martial arts. The cage is used to represent a room. Putting your opponent up against a wall and able to control them and then work takedowns or gaining that dominant position that Rodriguez was talking about earlier. Everything that they do in here is meant to be done downrange.
Right, you feel the same.
I couldn't agree more. I can't put it any better than that. Everything they use right here, like I said before, using dominant position, finishing the fight is really, really important. Downrange and in the cage, you get a dominant position, you need to work on finishing the fight, gaining dominant position, and getting the submission or finishing the fight, like I said before. Specialist Jackson, we have fought with him before in Louisiana. He had a first-round knockout by a takedown. He actually picked a guy up, slammed him on his head, put him out within the first 2 minutes of the fight. Really impressive, has really good wrestling. He actually went to the All-Army Wrestling Team of Fort Carson, Colorado. I think he's ranked number 6.
7 in the world for Greco-Roman
right
wrestling.
Now. Very, very, very impressive wrestler. Great left hand. He's actually a southpaw. We'll see how well the opponent's going to adjust to.
Very impressive indeed. Very impressive indeed. And now, Jorge Horta on his way to the octagon now. Jorge Horta making his way, looking very, very confident. And what do we know about Jorge Horta, gentlemen? What can you tell us about Jorge Horta?
I haven't really spent too much time with Mr. Horta. I do know he come with 41st Fires Brigade. Like Sergeant Cannon was saying before, they have an excellent boxing coach in First Sergeant Fuentes. We'll see how his hands are. Like I said, Specialist Jackson is a southpaw. We'll see how he adjusts too.
Well, Jorge Horta making his way into the octagon. Larry Jackson waiting on him, stalking and waiting. And if you just joined us now, you missed the first fight. I know you can't believe you missed the first fight because we can't believe it only lasted 10 seconds either. Simon Pequeno connecting on Specialist Mathis. sending him to the mat in the first 10 seconds. And now here we go. We're about to start the second fight. Jorge Horta in the blue corner. Larry Jackson in the red corner. Both of these gentlemen weighing 125 pounds, believe it or not. They're both listed at 125 pounds, yet it's hard to imagine them being 125. They certainly look a lot more bulky than that.
You know, it's part of the whole cutting weight thing. Anytime that you're involved in the combat sports like boxing, wrestling, or modern Army combatives, cutting weight is all part of that game. You know, some people don't like to cut weight because of the drain that it takes on you physically and mentally. However, some people think that it's worth it to take that extra time and spend that energy to get down to the lower brackets.
All right, so here we go. The second fight is underway. Larry Jackson wearing the red belt. Jorge Horta wearing the blue belt.
Jackson with a beautiful takedown. See if he can hold the position.
Yeah, Horta pops right back up there and is in a guillotine. Jackson passes, got his legs on the opposite side. Now he really just needs to work to clear his head. He's doing a really good job controlling his opponent's hips. You know, fighters are able to knee to the body while in the down position. You know, and that's something that I would really look for in that. Jackson's back up.
Good transition.
This is coming right back with another beautiful left hook.
Hands are flying, and there goes Jackson with another takedown. And these are right to left, and the fight is over. The fight is over. Larry Jackson gaining the upper hand and immediately swinging the rights and lefts, and he has gained himself a victory. My goodness, that was fast. It was fierce. Before you knew it,
it looked like he knocked him out with the lateral drop.
He did.
Looks like his head hit the canvas. Just as I stated before, he did in Louisiana. He did the same thing here. Dominant position, finished the fight. Very intense by Specialist Jackson. Very intense outing.
Larry Jackson putting Jorge Horta on the mat, and the referee stepped in almost immediately to stop this fight. Just one punch. It looks like he only threw one punch after Horta was taken down to the mat, and the fight is over. It's over. And we certainly hope that Jorge Horta is all right, because he has barely moved since going down to the mat. Ray, you mentioned it a moment ago. You said it. You saw Larry Jackson fight earlier. Was that similar to what you had seen from the previous time?
Yeah, I've seen him fight before. Almost the same takedown, just as he did on Horta. Lateral drop. It is a risky move to do, but if you land it nice, if you land it correctly, you can put your opponent on his back.
Well, we're 2 fights in, and both fights have ended in the first round. Larry Jackson, the latest one to claim victory, and Jorge Horta, good to see him on his feet. Looking a little dazed, but at least he's able to walk out of here under his own power.
Good sportsmanship. That's what I love about Army Combatives, I stated earlier. Great sportsmanship. No bad blood between soldiers. These guys respect each other inside and out the cage.
And the fans certainly seem to be loving it so far here. As a fan, how special is it to be, not only at an event like this, but on the base, getting to see some of these guys who fight for our country day in and day out? How much of a treat is it for them to watch this kind of event?
I think that anybody that is on Fort Hood and has been around Fort Hood for more than a minute knows that the combatives training is taken very, very, very serious. However, some people really don't know how far that combatives training can go. When soldiers conduct combatives training at their unit, very rarely do they ever do any of the striking or the takedowns. They focus more on gaining a dominant position on the ground and transitioning from primary weapon to secondary weapon, and really just focus on mastering the basics. We have this tournament once a year, and soldiers caliber of fights that you see is comparable to high-level amateur and professional fights that you would pay $20 to $40 to see on the outside.
So now we're about to get our third fight underway. Brian Sullivan, you hear the lights, you hear the music, you see the lights, and Brian Sullivan is about to make his way into the octagon. Brian Sullivan standing at 5'6", weighing 140 pounds. Brian Sullivan, guys, What do we know about him? What can we expect to see?
We know a lot about Brian Sullivan, actually. Brian Sullivan is an instructor with us at the Fort Hood Combatives Training Facility. However, he's not an active duty soldier. He's a spouse and a reservist. But he's an instructor at the Combatives Training Facility. He trains with us daily. He's prepared, Ray Rodriguez for, mixed martial arts fights on the outside, competes in jiu-jitsu. He's ready and definitely no stranger to this very cage.
So Brian Sullivan making his way into the octagon. We're going to be awaiting Micah Barrow out of the red corner. He's about to make his way into the ring here in just a moment. And from what we've seen from the first two fights, they've ended early. Should we expect another early ending to this fight? Who knows?
Brian Sullivan's another explosive fighter. I've had some intense sparring sessions with him where it's almost like a fight. I expect nothing but fireworks from Brian Sullivan. I don't know too much on his opponent, but I expect a good fight.
He stands at 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighs at 104 pounds. Out of 41st Spies Brigade,
And here we go. Micah Barrow making his way out of the red corner. Looks like he's ready to go. Looks like the fans are excited. They're ready to go with the third fight of the night. If you're joining us late, the first two fights both ended in the first round. Simon Pequeño and Larry Jackson both emerging victorious in the first two fights of this night. And now we're on to fight number 3. Now we are in the flyweight division, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm sorry. Apologies. We're in the lightweight division now at 140 pounds. Hard to keep track of all these weight classes, guys. You go up and down a few pounds, you're in a new weight class. Both fighters listed at 140 pounds. Again, Brian Sullivan in the blue corner, Micah Barrow in the red corner. And it's been a very action-packed night thus far, and I anticipate it carrying into this third match as we speak. Guys, how would you assess the fights so far, in your opinion, the first two that we've seen so far? Just your thoughts on them real quick.
Very intense, actually. I haven't seen too much game planning. The guys are meeting in the center, and they're throwing hands, actually. This fight, Brian's a great game planner. He has great game plans, whether it's on the top or bottom position. Another great wrestler. We'll see how it goes.
Brian Sullivan in the blue shirt with the blue belt. Micah Barrow in the red shirt with the red belt. And here we go, we're underway in the third fight.
Brian has very good boxing. If you look at his hands held high, southpaw, very fast hands.
Sullivan looking to work a jab or two inside, still kind of measuring his opponent up.
Good leg kick. He can't take too many of those. If he's not checking kicks, he's not going to be walking after the second round.
Both fighters looking like they're getting a feel for each other here.
This fight definitely seems like it's a lot more technical. Both fighters are, they seem very slow, very composed. I expect a war.
And here we go, Sullivan starting to get in it now.
Good sprawl by Sullivan.
Good underhooks, beautiful work in the underhooks. He's gonna pummel for underhooks.
What Sullivan really wants to start doing now is working those takedowns off the cage, and that's where he's at.
Sullivan with a good top position. It looks like his opposition's turtling up. Can't
Sullivan
see too
like
much from this position.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to turn Barrow over.
Looks like he's going for a guillotine. Beautiful guillotine.
Yep. And down goes Sullivan, and now Barrow has the upper hand.
What Sullivan needs to do is recompose his guard and work for there. Controlling his posture, making sure his opposition isn't getting up, and raining down blows just as he did.
Sullivan on his back, trying to fight off Micah Barrow. Barrow now starting to get in with a couple of rights. Sullivan staying patient, maybe playing possum a little bit, if you will, there on his back. just because you're on your back, guys, doesn't mean that you don't have an advantage. Isn't that correct?
Right. Well, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, fighting off your back is definitely, it's definitely not a problem by any means. However, there's no punches, there's no strikes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brian does have a lot of options from here. He can do submissions from here. He can do chokes. He can do arm bars. He can sweep his opponent over onto his back. However, when he's trying to do this, he has to worry about defending against his opponent standing up and punching him.
Mike Barrow now. Both fighters looking to try to find some sort of advantage. Barrow on top. Sullivan trying to fight him off on his back. Barrow with a right. Now he's starting to go to work, and here comes the lefts and rights. Barrow pushing Sullivan into the cage. Sullivan with a knee, trying to catch him in the jaw. Both fighters standing up now, and we're back in the center of the ring.
Nice Superman punch by Brian Sullivan. Going for a head kick. He needs to keep his hands up. Barrow looks like he has some good stand-up as well, keeping his hands up, composed.
Sullivan in a little bit of trouble now. Barrow with that, trying to apply the guillotine choke.
Barrow has a couple options from here. It looks like he could cage walk from the position he's in. He could post off the head and stand up. It looks like Sullivan has the mountain raining down blows.
Sullivan working his way out of a jam, and now swing with the rights and
He
left.
has to defend, or
Barrow
else the
trying to
referee will stop it. Safety is always a big thing. It's first and foremost. As aggressive as this is, every soldier that competes tonight needs to be able to stand in formation on their own two legs come Monday morning.
It's close to being
And
stopped,
that's it.
and the fight is
Finished.
stopped.
And that's it. Brian Sullivan gaining the upper hand, swinging with the rights and lefts. And Mike Barrow just had nowhere to go on his back, guys. Brian Sullivan was able to take advantage of getting on top.
Very good base by Brian Sullivan. Got the mount, raining down blows. Barrow had nowhere to go.
Brad, you mentioned it at the beginning of the fight, a very technical fight. Guys looking like they were just trying to feel each other out at the beginning. That was a pretty good fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The first two fights were just kind of chaotic. Larry Jackson, he did follow pretty much his game plan, closing the distance and getting that good takedown. With this fight, both fighters seemed like they were comfortable on their feet and on the ground. Both of them knew exactly what they needed to do. And, it just seemed like Sullivan maybe just was a little bit more experienced, able to weather the storm when the person was on top of him, was able to stand back up, take the fight to the ground, gain that dominant position, and finish the fight.
Ray, you said you were familiar with Brian Sullivan's game before he walked into the octagon. Was that about what you were expecting?
Yes, we see that all the time. Like I said, with Brian Sullivan, he's very good at getting a dominant position and holding on to it. This guy has hands of lightning, man. I've never seen a guy so fast at 140 and powerful. Great stand-up tactician as well as a wrestler.
So Brian Sullivan, the victor of fight number 3, and now we're going to move on to the welterweight division, and what we can expect here, Henry Favre and Daniel Sloan. And here comes Henry Favre, getting a big ovation from this crowd. Henry Favre out of the blue corner, standing at 5'9", weighing 155 pounds. Staff Sergeant Henry Favre, guys, what do you know about Staff Sergeant here? What can we expect to see from this young man?
I honestly couldn't tell you too much about Staff Sergeant Favre. I didn't get to see him too much in the tournament, nor in the fight house. I have no clue. I haven't seen him train or roll in the previous days. Sergeant Cannon, have you seen anything from Staff Sergeant Favre before?
No, not a whole lot. We had over 300 competitors over the last 3 days. Nobody wore name tapes, and everybody was wearing the same uniform. So, it's like coming up to somebody and being like, hey, man, do you know my brother? He's in the Army, too. His name's Miller, and he has short hair.
Always fun, especially from our end, though, to see a bit of an unknown then. That's part of the fun of watching the fight. Sometimes we don't know what we're going to see, and that's part of the fun of watching and see what we can expect to see. Maybe he can make a bigger name for himself here in the octagon tonight. So Henry Favre in the ring as we speak, out of the blue corner once again, standing at 5'9", weighing 155 pounds. And his opponent on the way, Daniel Sloan, also standing at 5'9", weighing 155 pounds. And here comes Daniel Sloan.
I actually did get to see this guy in the tournament. First leg of the tournament, the basic rules. I saw him 2 matches actually. Looked like he had a good jiu-jitsu base. I didn't see too much wrestling from him. Great sweeps, great submission attempts, great submission defense.
So Daniel Sloan now making his way into the octagon, getting checked before we get going. If you're just joining us, we're 3 fights in. We are now on our 4th fight, and we are in the welterweight division. Both of these fighters weighing in at 155 pounds. And Ray, you mentioned just a moment ago, you've seen Daniel Sloan fight before. You mentioned he's not really more of a wrestler, more of a, what's his specialty?
Actually, from what I did see, he looked like he had a very good jiu-jitsu base, as I said before. Great sweeps, great submission defense. He was caught in a deep triangle, was able to weather the storm and get out. I believe he won on points that bout. One thing I am noticing, every single bout from 110 to 170, 41st Fires has had a competitor at every single weight class so far. That speaks tons of First Sergeant Fuentes, the way he trains his team. They have some very good competitors, man. I'm very impressed.
So we're just about ready to go here on the 4th fight of the night. Henry Favre in the blue corner wearing the blue belt. Daniel Sloan in the red corner, and here we go. We're underway here on fight number 4 of the evening.
Ooh, Sloan lands a nice right.
Both fighters coming out swinging.
They're swinging for the fences.
They certainly are. And Sloan looking for the takedown. He's got Favre up against the cage.
It looks like Carr is going for a guillotine. Not too tight. If Sloan steps over to the side, he'll be able to finish the takedown. Don't know how tight that guillotine is. I don't have a good view from here.
Yeah, Sloan's actually working on the wrong side of that guillotine. He really needs to have his head on one side of his opponent's body and really work his legs around to the other. Whenever you put your head and your legs on the same side, it's usually not long before lights out.
Brad, what's the best way to get out of the guillotine?
The best way to get out of the standing guillotine is, first of all, in order to execute that, his opponent has to close distance. So the way to defend against that is you need to take whatever side your head is on, take that same side hand, post it in your opponent's hips. The other hand is going to come as high as you can up onto your opponent's back. Like I said before, you place your legs on the opposite side of his body, and then you work on the takedown from there.
So Daniel Sloan now out of that guillotine, and he's trying. And now he's back in it. Henry Favre looks like he's going for the guillotine. He could have it locked in. We're waiting to see if Daniel Sloan is going to tap here.
It's not an arm-in guillotine, which makes it a lot tighter. He has his arm wrapped around his neck very tight right now. It looks like he transitioned into an arm-in guillotine. Makes it a little bit harder to finish the choke. Still is possible, just a little bit harder to finish the choke.
But
he
Sloan
popped his
is
head out,
passed,
and he has
now
his back.
he is on his opponent's chest in the mount. Anytime you go to your back willingly in a fight like this, you are risking, sacrificing that position for your submission. We always tell soldiers that it's more important to establish that top position than to go for any submission, because anything can happen, and now he has to worry about an opponent on top of him.
Sloan now with his back to the cage, looking to gain the advantage. And now Favre looking to see if he can fit a couple of punches there in between the hands of Daniel Sloan. Favre doing just that. He wants to throw a right. Sloan not letting him.
Looks like he's trying to transition into a knee bar. It's going to be really tough with punches flying down in his face like that.
We have yet to see a fight go past the first round tonight. We're in our 4th fight of the night. Once again, Favre in the blue corner. Sloan out of the red. Favre now going for the rear naked choke.
Sloan's very good defense. It looks like it's under his chin. Not long before lights out.
Daniel Sloan tapping out of the rear naked chokehold. Favre gaining the advantage. It looked like Favre was in trouble for a minute, guys, but he was able to work his way out of it.
Definitely weathered the storm from being in the bad position to getting on top. Sloan, being on your back is a big difference between being on your back in the middle of the cage and having the wall behind you. Being against the cage is like you're fighting 2 opponents, not just one. A very uncomfortable position. looks like Favre finished the fight with the rear naked choke. Beautiful technique.
So Staff Sergeant Henry Favre gets his hand raised in victory tonight. It's the first fight that we've seen end in submission, guys. Not to, that being the first fight ending in submission. Good thing, bad thing? Should we see more of that? Is that
With this type of event, you never can tell how the fight's going to finish. The good thing is usually the guy in the military is going to win.
Caught that a little slow.
So we've got 4 fights in the books now. All of them have ended in the first round. The latest coming via submission. And now we're going to move over to the middleweight division. That's going to be our 5th fight of the night. Brad Wilkerson and Ryan Seeley preparing to go head-to-head.
Yeah, Ryan Seeley is a common face around the Fort Hood Combatives training facility. He comes in at lunch, he works. He comes in after work, spends a lot of time training on his own time. He trains with us at American Fight Company, which is a local Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym that both Ray and I train at. I expect an amazing fight from Ryan Seeley.
Ray, your thoughts on the fight coming up?
I actually saw Seeley fight yesterday in the pancrase round. I would say no longer than 30 seconds. Set up a head kick with 2 leg kicks. Noticed that his opponent was putting his hand down to block the leg kicks. That's definitely a no-no. Army Combative went high, knocked him out with a head kick.
Now, for those who don't know, this is not a mandatory program for people in the armed forces. Is that correct? This is not a mandatory program. This is all voluntary. But
No. Well, to compete in the tournament is voluntary. However, Modern Army Combatives is a required training event, no different than, qualifying with your individual weapon, learning how to do first aid. Modern Army Combatives is a warrior task and drill, and anyone that's in the Army, whenever they say the Soldier's Creed, there's a part where it comes to, and they say, that you will remain proficient in your warrior tasks and drills. Combatives is one of those tasks. Every single soldier in the United States Army is expected to be able to react to man-to-man contact in close combat.
So our 5th fight of the night coming out of the middleweight division, Brad Wilkerson making his way into the octagon as we speak. And we're waiting on his opponent, Ryan Seeley. Here comes Brad Wilkerson. Wilkerson slated at 170 pounds, as is Ryan Seeley.
Fighting out of the red corner, he stands at 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs at 170 pounds. Out of 30 CR, specialist Ryan Seeley.
A big hand from the fans for Ryan Seeley, who's making his way into the ring right now. Guys, when you have 2 fighters that are 170 pounds, I mean, if somebody connects on the face, I'm betting it could be a quick fight if somebody gets the upper hand with that.
170, in my opinion, is probably one of the toughest weight classes because you're not so big that you lose speed, but at the same time, you can pack a whole lot of muscle into 170 pounds. And Ryan Seeley is a perfect example of that. He's a very, very, very lean 170. However, what muscle he has is very, very strong.
Couldn't agree more. One thing I do know is Seeley has a big size advantage on his opposition. He's one of the bigger 170s I noticed in the tournament. Him along with Airman Brisbane. They fought in the pancrase side yesterday. Very good fight. Airman Brisbane edged out decisions. Very good fight.
So Ryan Seeley making his way into the octagon. And this looks like this could be a pretty intense fight, gentlemen. This looks like this is going to be a good one.
Very intense.
Yeah, this is the first level of competition over the last 4 days where the fighters are actually able to throw close hand strikes to the head. Yesterday, they were able to punch below the shoulders. However, they had to throw open hand strikes to the head. Ryan Seeley has very fast, heavy hands. Displayed his kicking ability yesterday with a head kick knockout, as well as an amazing ground game and a strong wrestling base. So Seeley is going to be comfortable, standing or on the ground.
So here we go with the 5th fight of the night in the middleweight division. Ryan Seeley out of the red corner, Brad Wilkerson out of the blue corner.
Seeley looks much more active. Beautiful right hand down the pipe. Looks like he's pummeling for underhooks.
Both fighters tied up here in the early going. Seeley trying to connect with a knee to the body. And now Wilkerson trying to turn the tables on him, but Seeley is having none of that. Seeley going for the takedown. He got it.
Takedown.
A good takedown there by Ryan Seeley. Now he's going to
taking them out.
Rights. Here come the rights. And this fight could end very, very soon.
The ref is going to have to stop this.
Seeley throwing rights and left, and now going to work with the left hand.
Those are some bombs. Those are some heavy lefts, heavy rights. Looks like the referee's about to stop the fight. Going for a knee to his back.
Wilkerson's going to have to show us something if he wants this fight to continue. Trying to wrap up and protect his face, and
looks like he's going for an arm triangle, transitioning to an arm triangle. Don't know if he has it locked in, but if he does, he needs to step over to the side to finish the arm triangle. It looks close. He's stuck in half guard again, raining down blows.
The referee really needs to step in, and he does a great job.
And that's it. And the referee has stopped this fight. Ryan Seeley.
It almost seemed like, when the referee stopped it, that Wilkerson had a problem with it. He seemed a little disgruntled. Maybe he had a different picture of what was going on than what we were seeing on the outside,
I definitely don't disagree with the stoppage. That was a great stoppage. It could have been stopped many times before.
Yeah, absolutely. Jared Klontz is the referee. Jared Klontz is a hand-to-hand instructor for the IRT training on Fort Hood. He has a lot of experience. He's very capable. We always want to see good fights. We never want to stop the fight too early, but I would much rather be wrong on the side of safety. You know what I'm saying? I would much rather stop the fight way too early than way too late. No amount of I'm sorry is going to fix somebody's broken jaw, things like that.
Very true. Great stoppage by Jared Klontz.
So Ryan Seeley gets his hand raised in victory after our 5th fight of the night. Seeley taking down Brad Wilkerson. It just didn't really seem like Wilkerson, he didn't even have a chance to get going here in this fight. Just couldn't find an opening, just found himself on his back and just couldn't recover. Seeley a little too much for him.
And that's exactly what I expected from Ryan Seeley, to get in there and finish the fight fast.
Moving on now to our 6th fight of the night in the cruiserweight division. Teodoro Quijano out of the blue corner, standing at 5'10", weighing 185 pounds. And Teodoro Quijano starting to make his way through the fog machine. I think we need to get ourselves a fog machine out at KCEN. I think we should all, whenever we're going on TV, I think we should all come through a fog machine.
Absolutely,
So here comes Teodoro Quijano. Once again,
PFC
5'10",
Quijano, he has an amazing ground game. He is definitely no stranger to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. As a matter of fact, he's actually from Brazil. He grew up doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I expect him to want to take the fight to the ground and gain that dominant fighting position. His opponent, however, Jimmy Chavez from 41st Fires Brigade, was on the All-Army team last year. Has pretty much continued training almost daily since then. And, while at the All-Army tournament, Jimmy Chavez fought a member of the Special Forces in a 48-minute bout. Finally was able to pick up his opponent off the ground about 4 or 5 feet off the ground and just throw him to the ground and win the fight by takedown. Chavez is a tough guy. He has a wrestling base. I expect a great fight.
For those watching who don't know, is there an advantage that certain guys have if they choose a certain fighting style, like one wants to go wrestling or boxing or jiu-jitsu, as you say? Do you think there's an advantage maybe with a different fighting style, or is it just what works for one might not work for another?
It's important to be well-rounded. You could be the greatest boxer in the world, but if you get taken down, you're out of your realm. At the same time, you could be the greatest wrestler in the world. You can't get the takedown, you're out of your realm. Jimmy Chavez, one thing I can tell you about him, the All-Army tournament last year, he fought at 170. I think the cut was a lot for him. I think he found his new home at 185. I saw him during the tournament. He looked a lot more comfortable, a lot more energy in the previous days of the tournament. It's going to be an exciting bout.
So Jimmy Chavez making his way into the octagon now. 5'7", he's given 3 inches to Teodoro Quijano, but he also weighs 185 pounds. And I expect this fight looking like it's going to be another knock him down, drag him out type fight we're about to witness. This is our 6th fight of the night. Once again in the cruiserweight division, Teodoro Quijano out of the blue corner, Jimmy Chavez out of the red corner. Each of the 5 fights that we have seen thus far has ended in the first round, guys. Why do you think that is?
Just the intensity of these guys. You know, coming to the cage for the first time, I remember my first fight, first time I walked into a cage, I had tunnel vision. I was just ready to go. Just the intensity. Very intense, very skilled fighters. They've been through hell and back the past 2 days. They're ready to get in the cage and showcase their skills.
The crowd seems ready. We here at the table, we're certainly ready.
With both of these guys having a very good ground background, one jiu-jitsu and one wrestling, it usually stalemates and turns into a stand-up bout. So it's interesting to see who's going to implement their game plan best.
And here we go, we're underway here in the 6th fight. Once again, Teodoro Quijano in the blue.
Ooh,
Jimmy
Quijano is
Chavez
teeing
in the
off.
red,
He's landed
and
a
Chavez
big
is
blow
in
on
trouble here.
Chavez. Chavez having a hard time recovering. You know, he really needs to keep his hands up and defend himself. However, last year, Jimmy Chavez fought a war. Just sat there and traded punches with the guy over and over and over and over for 3 rounds. You know, Chavez is, you know, he may take some punishment this evening, but it's going to take more than just a punch or two to make this guy quit. Quit is nowhere in this guy's vocabulary.
And he certainly has already taken a few punches to the face already, but like you said, Brad, he is still on his feet.
It looks like he recomposed himself, working the takedown. One thing I can say about Chavez, he has a granite chin, man. This guy could take a punch and keep on going.
You know, maybe Chavez just needed a couple of those punches to get waken up, you know. He's such a nice guy, you know. He really is the kind of guy that, you know, if you're having a bad day, you want to go talk to Jimmy Chavez. He's such a nice guy. He'll brighten your day right up. You know, he'll give you the shirt off his back without any questions, and just generally just a really happy-go-lucky kid.
Does it make it tougher to spar against him in that way? You say, oh, he's such a nice guy. I don't even want to throw a punch
definitely
him.
not. You know, I mean, Ray and I are really good friends. You know, and we have been for the last couple of years. Unfortunately, when you know when we get in the cage, it's game on, and we'll shake hands and give hugs later.
The friendship
but for right now,
the friendship stays out of the ring. Then I take it, Brad. Very
absolutely.
True. Still in the first round here, Jimmy Chavez in the red, on top of Teodoro Quijano.
It looks like he's trying to pass his half guard. What he needs to do is press down on his knee and free that leg. Looks like he's going to try to open him up with some blows to the body.
You know, and this is where that being well-rounded thing is going to happen. You know,
Exactly.
Quijano definitely has a strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu base, but it's all about realistic fight training. You know, just like Ray said, you know, what's a boxer's defense to a double leg takedown? There isn't one. You know, you have to be prepared for the stand-up war. You have to be prepared to go to the ground. You know, and in combatives, we teach soldiers that, you know, not only just the unarmed combat, but also how to introduce weapons, transitions and stuff, and how to utilize.
And now Chavez looks like he's got the advantage.
Chavez is on top. This is a bad place for Quijano. Chavez has got very heavy hands.
Yes, he does.
Swinging with the rights and lefts. Chavez looks like he's close to ending this fight. Quijano trying to keep him off.
He's ready.
Right after right after right from Chavez.
Chavez is very heavy on top. It's hard to get Chavez off you.
And there you
Very
have
good
it.
stoppage. Don't agree with the stoppage. I expected nothing less from Trey Chavez. He has a granite chin. Took a couple licks, kept on going, finished the fight on top. Very good fight by Jimmy Chavez.
And like you mentioned, Brad, earlier in the fight, Jimmy Chavez, he took a couple of the face, but it didn't seem to alter his game plan at all.
No, you know, just like Ray said, granite chin, no quit in this guy's vocabulary. Last year, the same thing happened, except for he took a little bit more punishment. Um, he may have just needed to be waking up and realize, hey, this is real. This isn't training. This isn't sparring. We're gonna fight.
So Jimmy Chavez gets the victory here in the fight, and for the 6th consecutive fight, we have ended in the first round. Is it, the guys who are going into the octagon tonight, are they familiar with each other, or are most of them haven't really seen too much film on each other? Is that why the fight's raining early?
I think that most people that train pretty consistently in combatives and in the different fighting styles that we offer at the Fort Hood Combatives Training Facility, you're gonna know everybody. You know, at least recognize faces. However, you know, just like I said, when Ray and I step into the cage, it's game on. It's all professional. It's business.
Moving on to our 7th fight of the night, we're moving on to the light heavyweight division. And standing at 6 feet tall, weighing 205 pounds, Michael Lipford. 6 feet tall, about average height, 205 pounds though, gentlemen. I mean, that's a lot of weight to be tacking on if you're gonna be facing the guy in the ring. 205 pounds in the light heavyweight. And he's gonna be going up against Christopher Ramos, 5'11", also 205 pounds. So a couple of bigger guys about to step into this ring.
Yeah, Christopher Ramos is a tough guy. You know, but his opponent that's coming out now, Specialist Michael Lipford, I don't really know a whole lot about him. I do know Ramos, however, but okay. Now seeing Lipford's face, you know, I do recognize him. He is a tough kid. You know, like I said, whenever you're doing combatives training, we do it in a sterile uniform, which means no name tapes. You know, working at the combatives training facility, we've trained, you know, thousands of soldiers. And they all look the same. It's all short hair and in the camouflage uniform. But he's definitely no slouch. He's here to fight.
Specialist Lipford actually came through one of me and Sergeant Cannon's level 2 classes. He was definitely a standout. Whenever we had time for rolling, this guy was rolling through the opposition. It's interesting to see him here in the cage.
So Specialist Michael Lipford making his way into the octagon. And he looks like he is all business here tonight from Fort Hood. Waiting on Specialist Christopher Ramos. He's about to be making his way into the ring here momentarily. After our light heavyweight division fight here, we have one more fight in the heavyweight division coming up before we take our intermission. So we are 6 fights in. We got 2 more till intermission. And I expect some action-packed fights before we go into the break. And the red corner being rolled out right now. Christopher Ramos, again, 5'11", 205 pounds. Making his way towards the octagon.
Yeah, Christopher Ramos, that guy is a tough guy. He had an all-out war in the pancrase rounds yesterday. His opponent was well over 6 feet tall, very, very, very lean, very good jiu-jitsu base. Was able to shut that down with just a good old-fashioned beatdown. You know, he let his hands and his legs go and let them do the talking for him. Tough guy, just like Chavez, quits nowhere in his vocabulary.
Brad, I know you said that everybody needs to train in hand-to-hand combat, but is this type of event in this type of setting, is it more of a stress relief for you guys? I mean, I know you guys like to compete against one another, but is it more of a stress relief from everything else you guys have to deal with?
You know, combatives training is one of those things that the soldiers that do it often, they're going to experience a lot more positive effects from it, you know, and it's one of those rare training things that the soldiers really, really, really like to do. You know, everybody that trains in land navigation, for example, Some people don't like to do land nav, you know. But combatives training, when you do it consistently, you not only learn, um, you know, what stress really is. Uh, you know, you learn a skill set on how to defend yourself and how to execute, you know, a set list of techniques. You learn controlled aggression. You learn how to win. You learn how to lose. Um, and you learn how to take all of the adrenaline that goes into fighting and just kind of channel that into a positive outlet.
All right, and here we go with our 7th fight of the night. Christopher Ramos in the red.
Great leg kicks by both of them. As I stated in the previous fight, if you're not checking these kicks, you will be limping tomorrow, probably next week as well.
Michael Lifford wearing the blue belt. And Ramos.
Good wrestling defense by Ramos, securing those underhooks, getting his hips out, rotating his opponent into the cage. Both these guys seem pretty comfortable in here.
Ramos going for the takedown, and he's got a takedown. Ramos with the upper hand.
Good takedown.
Beautiful takedown.
Ramos now going to work on the body of Michael Lifford.
I can't tell from this position if he has mount or half guard. If he does have mount, he needs to posture up, rain down blows. Oh, from here
it looks like he is caught in half guard, Ray.
Okay.
Yeah,
beautiful takedown. Jeez.
Yeah, with his opponent's head against the cage, his opponent really doesn't have anywhere to go. You know, the cage is on one side of him and at the top of his head, like Ray said earlier. It's like fighting two opponents at once.
So Christopher Ramos on top, trying to pin back the arms of Michael Lifford, trying to get an opening to get a shot in there to the face, but he's not able to do it so far. Lifford trying to fight him off, trying to play possum maybe here for a second, see if he can get a reversal.
Lifford looks like he's just controlling his posture, making sure he's not going to posture up and rain down blows just like he's trying to do right now. Lifford's doing a really good job of controlling his posture right now. What he needs to do is get on his right hip. He has a couple sweeps from this position. Anytime you're on your back, you never want to be flat on your back. You always want to be either on a hip or you want to be active at all times.
Ramos with a couple of rights to the face.
Lifford's coach is in the corner giving him good advice, you know, telling him to escape his hips out away from his opponent and try and go for some of those sweeps or maybe recompose to full guard.
Lifford still on his back, trying to work his way out of it, but he doesn't seem like he's in much of a hurry.
Looks like a stalemate. I wouldn't be surprised if Sergeant Reyes stood him up and let him go toe-to-toe. Sergeant Reyes warning them to get active.
Oh, and Ramos comes into the mount.
Uh-oh.
Lifford doing a good job of controlling his opponent's head, you know, but he really can only hold on for so long until he hits muscle failure. You know, Ramos's back is a heck of a lot stronger than his hands.
Ramos trying to work some shots into the body. Lifford trying to control the hands.
Ramos posturing up.
He needs to improve his position. If he's not improving his position, Sergeant Reyes is going to stop the fight.
Ramos going to work here on the face of Michael Lifford. Here comes a couple more rights, and the fight has been stopped. 7th fight of the night has been stopped. Christopher Ramos emerging victorious, gaining the upper hand on Michael Lifford and just never letting up, guys.
Great stoppage by Sergeant Reyes, especially as Lifford's taking a lot of punishment. Back against the cage, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, and you know, and the big difference between, you know, the heavier rounds and the lighter rounds is the heavier rounds definitely come with more muscle behind those punches, which means more damage with less punches, you know. So where if those guys were maybe at 110 or 125 pounds, you know, the punches are less effective, you know. But when you've got guys that are 205 pounds, you know, and is built and as big as Ramos is, there's a whole lot of pain behind those punches.
Very heavy leather thrown by both of these gentlemen. Great fight, though.
Guys, talk a little bit more about the All-Army team and what you guys are looking for to bring somebody onto the All-Army team to come train with that.
I've definitely seen a lot of talent from these guys. One thing that is a big difference from this year to last year, I see a lot more striking, a lot more guys that have a well-established striking background, as well as wrestling. I've never seen so many high-caliber wrestlers in a Fort Hood tournament. we're gonna have a good team this year. I can't wait for July.
What's the process like in going about choosing the team? What are you looking for? Who exactly, when they stand out to you, how do you filter through and put the team together?
You know, there's a lot of people that want to come out and compete, and that's great, and we highly encourage that. However, the fact of the matter is, at that level of competition, you have to be able to bring something to the table. You know, if you don't already have an established base, at that level, you know, that's not really what, you know, we're looking for. You know, we are the two-time, you know, U.S. Army Combatives champions. We have a lot riding on that. You know, I would say the biggest thing that we're looking for, though, is people that do not quit, okay? Last year, we had a guy that came out for the team. He won first place at this tournament. He made it through 2 days of practice, got some owies, and decided that it wasn't for him, you know? However, Larry Jackson, you know, that fought at the third and fourth 125-pound fight, he was on the team last year. He did not compete in last year's tournament. He walked on to the team and said, hey, I want to do this. We put him through a little bit of a training gauntlet, some jiu-jitsu rounds, some kickboxing rounds, and then some, you know, some advanced rules rounds that you're seeing here. He sustained a pretty bad injury, took his lumps, left, licked his wounds, and came right back, and pretty much shocked every single person that was on the team and working at the combatives training facility. When you see somebody get beat up, you see somebody you know, not do so well, and then they turn around and come back and say, hey, that was fun, I want some more of that, that's what we're looking for.
So here we go in our 8th fight of the night. Specialist Fabian Thomas fighting out of the blue corner, making his way. Fabian Thomas is going to be fighting Nathaniel Brown. And we've reached the heavyweight portion of the program, guys.
Specialist Brown will have to get through Specialist Thomas's reach. He's 6'7", Brown 6'3". If Specialist Thomas establishes his jab, Brown will have some problems. Very tall heavyweight, 6'7". We'll see how Brown adapts and see what he does in this fight.
Introduce his opponent, fighting out of the corner. He stands at 6 feet 3 inches tall, weighing at 240 pounds, out of 36th Engineer Brigade.
Brown was actually on the team last year, made it to the Pancrase version of, he made it to the Pancrase round of the All-Army tournament last year, was barely put out. Great competitor, I'm excited to see this fight.
Now, and just because he made the team last year doesn't necessarily guarantee him a spot this year, correct?
Correct. You know, nothing is written in stone. You know, it's all about you know, performing today. However, Specialist Nathan Brown is very, very, very well-rounded, great wrestler, great jiu-jitsu, great Muay Thai kickboxing, competes regularly in civilian Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournaments, trains at a local Muay Thai gym in Killeen, spars regularly, and has, you know, just as many rounds in this particular cage as, you know, Ray and I do. This guy is no stranger to doing work, and I expect a lot from him.
Personally, after looking at these two guys in the octagon right now, it's nights like tonight that I'm very happy that I'm on this side of the octagon and not actually in the octagon with these guys, because they look like they can do some damage.
You know, I think for Ray and I, it's the exact opposite. You know, I don't want to be here at this table with this headset on. You know, good,
Much
bad,
rather
or
be in the
ugly.
cage.
I want to get around in the cage.
Maybe we'll have to set aside some special time for you guys to train me on the side. Maybe I'll get myself
Hey,
into this one of these
absolutely.
days.
You're more than welcome to come down to the Fort Hood Combatives Training Facility. You know, we'll put some pads on you, throw some Vaseline on your face, and give you a mouthpiece.
I was about to say, in the broadcasting rules, you know, it's always said there's no touching of the hair or face. You can't do that to a broadcaster.
absolutely.
That's against the rules. So here we go, guys. 8th fight of the night. Fabian Thomas out of the blue corner, Nathaniel Brown out of the red corner.
I'm very intrigued by this fight. I want to see if Brown's going to be able to get past Thomas's range. He is a lot longer, a lot taller than him. Looks like he wants to do that by putting him on the cage. He needs to close the distance. If Thomas establishes that jab, Brown might have a long night.
Both
Good clinch
fighters
by
going
Brown.
to work here.
Like Pummeling looked like he's
You
going
know,
for
Thomas has a huge advantage with just being so long. You know, he can keep Brown off him, throw those good hard knees. You know, at this weight, there's a lot of power behind those knees. You know, even if it just barely grazes off of them, I mean that's grazing off of ribs and your stomach and your liver.
In the heavyweight division, there is no max weight. You could fight anywhere from 206 to 395. There's no max weight. That's one thing that's different about the heavyweight division.
Thomas now on his back. Nathaniel Brown trying to gain the upper hand.
This is where Brown wants to be. Just established the mount. It's going to look to rain down blows.
Nathaniel Brown starting to swing his right hand, trying to get a couple of shots into the face of Fabian Thomas. And here we go, a couple of rights and lefts. Thomas trying to protect his face.
And these are heavy punches. If you notice with Brown, he brought his knees into his opponent's armpits, not on top of his hips. It makes it a lot harder for his opponent to buck his hips and buck Brown off of him. He's in a very dominant position. They're going to stop the fight.
And
very good stoppage. Very good stoppage.
Nathaniel Brown,
Great call by Jared Klontz to stop that fight. You know, Nathan Brown is he's approximately 260 pounds. You know, and if you look at him, he's not a sloppy 260 pounds. He has a very well-defined jaw, very broad shoulders, flat stomach. The dude he's a massive, massive guy. Any one of those punches could have done serious, serious damage.
And there, again, like you mentioned, it's been a great night of fights so far. We have reached intermission. 8 fights into the event so far. We'll be back with more fights, and we'll talk to a couple of the fighters here at intermission.